Hi all and welcome back to the channel. So in this video I'm going to go over 2 power moves that you can do at home this winter to help you hit the ball further when that season starts. Now we all know that power is such a useful asset for a golfer nowadays, particularly with this club here, the Big Stick. So if you can get the ball out there a little bit further, it really helps give you the potential to shoot some lower scores. So in this video, I'm going to go over 2 of my go-to moves to help you do just that from home. And if you find this video helpful, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Let's get stuck in. So our first power move is going to be our seated squat jumps. Now this is a great way to work on that lower body explosive power, which we know correlates so well over to club head speed. So to do this move, all we need is something to be seated on and an appropriate surface to land on. So, seated on my bench here, I'm going to have my feet kind of driver stance width apart. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be lifting my feet up and I'm going to be stomping them down into the floor to help propel me into the air and then landing nice and soft. So I'm going to use a little bit of an arm swing here. So kind of arms start in front. I kind of stomp down into that floor, launch myself up into the air as high as I can, and then land as softly as possible. So I'll go through a couple of reps here. So up, stomp, and then try and land nice and softly. I reset and I go again. So up, stomp, and then land nice and softly. So what we're doing here is we're really recruiting that kind of fast twitch motion through our lower body. So we're not getting very long to generate our power, which is kind of what we get in the golf swing. So we don't get crazy amounts of time to generate our force in the golf swing. So this is a great way of replicating those kind of similar time frames, those similar feels, but obviously not quite in as a specific way as the swing itself. Now, few things to bear in mind as we're doing this. What we're looking for is we're looking for an aggressive kind of stomp first. So we want to make sure that we really get everything out of that stomp. So we don't want it to be too much like that. So obviously I've spent a lot of time on the ground there. I really want to make sure that I maximize my kind of ground forces. So it's an aggressive stomp up to help propel me up. And then the second thing obviously is the landing. So as we land, we want to land nice and softly. So we want to land in this kind of soft, athletic position. So a little bit of knee bend, hips push back a little bit. We don't want to be landing really bolt upright. And at the same time, we don't want to be landing really deep into a squat either. So we want that kind of middle ground, nice soft landing, hips back a little bit of knee bend. That will help us just kind of absorb some of those forces. So go through a few more. Kind of driver stance position, aggressive stomp, soft landing. So we're trying to jump as high as we can, be as quick on the floor as possible, and then be as soft on the landings as we can. Now, if you're someone who really doesn't want to jump at all, you don't feel comfortable kind of leaving the floor, that's fine. We can kind of just regress the exercise a fraction and you can still get some similar benefits. So what you do in that case is you still have the stomp and then an aggressive stamp up and then back down. So we're kind of stomping, driving up, but we're not actually leaving the floor. So if you're someone maybe doesn't feel comfortable leaving the floor, maybe you've got some kind of knee issues, etc., that you want to be a little bit wary of, that's a way that you can still get that kind of lower body explosive intent into your training from home, but without actually leaving the floor. Now, when we're doing this movement, we want to make sure that we are prioritizing quality over quantity. So normally sets of around 3 to 5, so very kind of low volume, but high intent. We want to make sure that we mean each of those reps. And we'd normally do kind of 2 to 3 sets, resting for maybe 90 seconds, 2 minutes in between sets. So giving yourself plenty of time to recover so that each rep can be really good, really explosive, and help you get a little bit more out of those legs for your golf game. So our second explosive move that you can do from home this winter is going to be our explosive push-ups. Now this is going to work a little bit more of our upper body and those explosive qualities through that upper body in a pushing fashion. So to do our explosive push-ups, all we need is an elevated surface. So for me, this is a box, it could be a bench in the gym as well. If you're doing it from home, a sofa, a couch, a coffee table, just some kind of elevated surface for you to place your hands on. So to do the move, I'm going to get into my push-up position. So top of my push-up position, wrists kind of stacked under my shoulders here, onto my tiptoes, and then from there, I'm going to lower down a little bit so my elbows kind of track at that 45-degree mark, so I don't want them out to the side too much. I'm not going to go through my full push-ups. I'm not going all the way down. I'm just kind of loading so that I can explode. So from here, load down a little, push off, and then I'm catching myself and pushing back off. So as I'm doing this, I'm trying to keep a nice kind of neutral line through my body. So I don't want to be pushing off and really kind of rounding through here. I don't want to be kind of lowering down like this. So I want to think of my body as kind of one whole unit. I want to kind of keep that in line as I make my movement. Another thing to consider as we do this, very similar to the seated squat jumps, is we want to be quite fast on the box. So obviously on the seated squat jumps, I talked about kind of really making sure you stomp and make use of those kind of ground forces. We want to be quite quick on the ground. Similar concept here. So I want you to imagine the box or the bench is kind of hot coals. So we don't want to be spending too much time on it. So we don't want our reps to be looking like this. So obviously I am leaving the box each time here, but I'm quite slow. I'm spending quite a lot of time on the box. So what I want to see as we're doing this is I'm kind of getting on and getting off the box as fast as I can. I'm really trying to work on that explosiveness. So I'm trying to land, absorb that force, and turn it around and push myself off as fast as I can. Now, similar again to the seated squat jumps, if you really don't feel comfortable kind of leaving the surface, we can just do some with a kind of an intent to push up really quickly, but without actually kind of leaving the box or the bench. So if you're kind of just starting out, or maybe you're a little bit kind of wary around some shoulder or some wrist issues, that could be a nice option. Another way though that we can really kind of alter this move depending upon kind of where you're at is we can change the height of the surface. So if I move my box this way, make it a little bit higher, that's going to make this movement a lot easier. So as I am on an elevated surface that's kind of even of a greater height, the percentage of the body weight that I have to push goes down. So if you're just starting out, a higher surface will be a little bit easier, enable you to get the movement, and then you can lower that in time. So if you're doing it at home, something maybe like a kitchen counter might be a little bit higher, might be a good starting point. And then as you get the movement, as you get a little bit more explosive through that upper body, you can find lower surfaces to use. If you found that original version off kind of sofa or bed too easy, obviously the same rules apply. You can find lower surfaces. So you can end up doing explosive push-ups from the floor. Whichever variation that you pick, the same rules apply. We're trying to keep our shape. Our elbows are kind of tracking more in that kind of diagonal pattern, not too much out to the side. and we're trying to be kind of nice and quick on the surface. So getting on and getting off as fast as we can. Very similar to the seated squat jumps. Again, we're looking for quality over quantity. So 2 to 3 sets of around 5 reps each time, resting for kind of 90 seconds, 2 minutes in between rounds so that we're nice and fresh and we can make every rep as explosive as we can. So there we have it. 2 simple moves you can do at home to add a little bit of power this winter. Now with both moves, we want to prioritize quality over quantity. So really making sure we're nice and explosive on each repetition and resting appropriately in between sets. Give them a go and let me know in the comments below how you get on.